They were called the Firm, one of the most evil gangs of crooks known to detectives. They died as they had lived, violently, and at the hands of killers as brutal as they were. Last night, as a 19-week murder trial ended, a small-time crook told of his terror after straying into the deprived world of Pat Tate, Craig Rolfe and Tony Tucker. A modern-day version of the craze. Steve Nipper Ellis revealed how bodybuilder Tate put the frighteners on him by threatening to kidnap his teenage sister and cut off her fingers one by one. Ellis, just 5'5", became the target of a terrifying vendetta after being blamed for an attempt on Tate's life. Ellis was warned of a contract of £10,000 that had been put out on his head whilst he was serving time for firearms offences, and when he came out of jail, he said he was relentlessly pursued by Tate and drugs overlord Tucker. Ellis said, "When I was in prison, I had numerous death threats, and as soon as I got out, I was ordered to leave town. I was told if I ignored the warnings, they would retaliate. A hitman went to my dad's door looking for me. My family were told Tucker and Tate planned to snatch my little sister and take off her fingers one by one. She was only 15 and terrified. The threats never stopped." Ellis's running with the heavies had begun when they had fell out over a comment he made in a telephone conversation. He said, "It was all over some silly remark I made on the phone. Next thing I knew, Tucker and Rolfe came round to my house. Tucker stuck a loaded pistol into my temple and threatened to kill me. Then they came over with a machete and threatened to hack off my hand or my foot. Then they looted my house and left human feces plastered everywhere. I couldn't take any more of it, so I went out and bought a Smith & Wesson pistol for £600 and a bulletproof vest for £400. I might be small, but someone had to stand up to them." Ellis was blamed by the gang for assassination attempt on Tate 12 months before he was finally shot dead. A brick was lobbed through a bathroom window at Tate's £120,000 bungalow as he was getting ready for a party. When he peered outside, a gunman opened fire with a revolver from close range. Tate raised his right arm to shield his face. The bullet hit his wrist, travelled up his arm and smashed bones in his elbow. Ellis was quizzed by the police after being named by the gang as being the shadowy attacker. He said, "Tate identified me as the gunman, and Tucker and Rolfe told the police had chased them with a pump-action shotgun. I was arrested, but the case was never pursued because checks ruled out my gun as being the weapon. But Pat Tate was 100% that it was me and swore revenge." Ellis was invited to visit Tate in hospital after the attack to sort out a misunderstanding, but he found out that Tate had a gun hidden in his hospital bed and was planning to execute him as he stepped through the door. Tate, on parole for an armed robbery sentence at the time of his shooting, was later sent back to prison for 10 months for smuggling the weapon into the hospital. Ellis, who served 7.5 months for illegally possessing firearms, said of the 3 men who died, "They were nasty, vicious bullies. They will not be missed. They were scum, and Britain is a better place without them." While Tate was in hospital recovering from being shot, he revealed to his mother, Marie Tate, how Rolfe and Tucker had killed a rival drug gang member with a poison jab. They ambushed the man, Kevin Whitaker, and first paralysed him by forcing him to snort a substance used by vets to numb horses before castration. As Whitaker's muscles froze, the glouting gangsters pierced his groin with a syringe and pumped a deadly concoction into his blood. His body was dumped in a ditch near Basildon, Essex. Tate was high on drugs smuggled into the hospital at the time he made the revelations. According to his mother, the drugs loosened his tongue. Tate's long life of crime was highlighted in 1988 when he staged a Great Escape-style motorbike getaway after knocking out 3 police escorts in court at Bellericay. Helped by friends who blocked the path of his pursuers, he ran from the court building and jumped on a powerful motorbike. The machine roared off through the crowded high street and Tate got away. He had been in court charged with armed robbery at a nearby Happy Eater restaurant. After his dramatic escape, Tate fled to Spain but was rearrested when he crossed over to Gibraltar, which comes under British law, to pick up a pal from the airport. He was jailed for 10 years. Whilst in prison, Tate became a minder to cop killer Kenny Knoll. Tate and Knoll became pals when they were both inmates at Swellside Prison on the Isle of Shepley. Tate got a job as an orderly at the jail gym, where Tate worked out every day. Tate then pursued Noel to invest in importing ecstasy tablets from Holland, and Noel coughed up £30,000. Tate was the product of a broken home, his parents having split up when he was just 5, and his first brush with the law came when he was just 12. While the family were living in Cambridgeshire, the young Tate found a pouch stuffed with money on the roof of a parked car. It turned out that the £300 was a fund for a police Christmas party. Tate blew the lot on leather jackets and a record player for his pals. He took cab rides to restaurants in Cambridge, 18 miles away, and, according to his mum, tipped the drivers a week's wages. His mum said, "The first we knew was when the police knocked on the door. They said they had all the other boys' evidence. Pat told us we'd been hiding the money in an outside toilet at an old man's house nearby. The police tricked him into admitting every minor thing he'd ever done in his life, including stealing rubbers from Woolworths. They decided to make an example of him, so he was put in an approved school at Grimsbury, and that corrupted his mind." Mrs. Tate said of her son as a boy, "He was no angel, just a lovable little rogue with a great big cheeky grin. When he was at school, I was always getting letters saying that things had gone missing. He once gave his younger brother Russell a bike as a present. He was thrilled. Then some other kids beat the hell out of Russell and snatched the bike off of him. Evidently Pat had pinched it. He managed to get a butcher's apprenticeship, and we thought things had settled down. But then he bought a car and got involved in the police chase from St Neots to Chelmsford, 70 miles away." Tate's adult life was a whirl of drugs, booze, birds and bodybuilding. His criminal career brought rich rewards, including a Mercedes and a gleaming white Rolls he jointly owned. Handsome, muscular, Tate was a magnet for women. After his breakup of his marriage to wife Donna, he dated pretty blonde Sarah Saunders. She became his longtime girlfriend and they had a son. They split up just weeks before Tate's murder. Police originally suspected Sarah was romantically linked with Mickey Steele, who was imprisoned for killing Tate, but Sarah insisted in court Steele was only ever a father figure. Tate's mum knew he was a hard man, and she was astonished to discover one of the killers rode alongside him in the Range Rover on the night of the massacre. She said, "My boy never went anywhere without his mobile phone and his gun." Man Mountain Tony Tucker was the drug baron ultimately responsible for the death of tragic Leah Betts. The bodybuilder was a Mr. Big who selected doormen for his southeast nightclubs. He used them to control dealers and runners peddling pills inside. His patch included Raquel's in Basildon, Essex. The fatal ecstasy tablet taken by birthday girl Leah was brought there in November 1995. Boxing fan Tucker was also a minder to boxing champ Nigel Benn. His father, Ronald Tucker, 63, died of shock when told hitmen had killed his son. Lavish Tucker built up a drugs empire, importing from Holland and distributing in the southeast. He then exported to the Canaries. Riches from his villainy funded a lavish lifestyle. It included a £250,000 hacienda-style bungalow at Fobbing in Essex with stables and views. In his front garden was a statue of a naked goddess. A garage block housed his luxury motors, including a black Porsche with the number plate TT9 and a Mercedes. Tucker was paranoid about security. His home had a wall, iron gates and a video intercom. In the months before their deaths, 26-year-old Rolf and Tucker became increasingly violent. They were caught on video handing out punishment beatings to cash-strapped drug customers and small-time dealers. Other films showed them slashing the faces of their victims. But despite the evidence, not one of their terrified prey would make a statement to detectives, let alone go to court.